Right, what's happening? So it's a few days after I posted the last sort of like Autopsy collection video, and I'm home alone for a few more hours, so I figured, why not? I've been talking about doing another one of these record videos for a while now, so now's as good a time as any. If you haven't seen the last video that I posted just a few days before filming this one, I know that's not for everybody, but give it a whirl. Definitely a different kind of video. Anyway, there's not much more to say that I did not say in that video, so I guess it'll be worth just hopping right into it. What we're listening to here is this. This is the newest solo Benjamin Todd album, Shooting Star. I can't get enough of this thing. I've listened to it, man, I don't even know, like, without exaggerating, it has to be 20 times all the way through just in the past couple of months. I really enjoy this. If you like Lost Dog Street Band or Benjamin Todd, you haven't heard this. Really good shit. If you don't know either, if you're into sort of country music, then this is definitely worth checking out. Every song on this, according to Benjamin Todd himself, was written to sort of represent a different like production style of country music from different eras. So, if you like any kind of country music, there's probably something on here that you'll enjoy. I fucking love this record. Now, that being said, the records that we're actually going to talk about here today are nothing like that. All of these records, except for the very last one, are metal albums, different kinds of metal. So, hopefully something for everybody. The first thing here is one of the more recent records that I've had show up, but I am talking, of course, about this. This is Arizmenda, Without Circumference Nor Center. Arizmenda is kind of weird in the way that they do their releases. It kind of seems like there's never more than one format for any release that's like put out at the same time. And on top of that, there's no like rhyme or reason to what format some new release will get. There are Arizmenda albums that have no vinyl press. There are other Arizmenda albums that have no CD press. There are Arizmenda albums that have no cassette release. Like Despair's Depths Descended is only on CD up to this point. Like Beneath This Reality of Flesh, I'm pretty sure is only on cassette. Within the Vacuum of Infinity, I think has no cassette release or CD release, one or the other. But Arizmenda does have a way of coming back to their albums and pressing older albums on different formats and stuff. Eventually, maybe, you know, that is definitely not across the board. But it seems like from time to time we will get lucky with something like this. So, when this went up for sale, there was some kind of confusion. I'm not clear on the details. But it was like there was a pre-order campaign for this record, and however long later, the Instagram account that was promoting it posted like these stories basically saying like, hey, if you pre-order this, you're gonna get a refund. But there was also like wholesale orders are still going out or something. I have no idea what actually happened, but I missed the first pre-order of this, so it for a minute kind of seemed hopeless that there was going to be any more put up for sale, but I guess a different label or something got a hold of it. I have no idea. All I know is I'm glad that it happened because it worked out for me, and I know that people did actually get their refunds, so no Blake Judge shit. Anyway, this is the second full-length album from 2011, which came out 2 years after Within the Vacuum of Infinity, and this album was originally only available on cassette. Until like last year, there was like a limited CD run. And I never even saw those, but according to Discogs, there was a CD that came out last year. And then finally there was this vinyl press. And this thing is gorgeous. Like the whole presentation here is very nice. So this thing has, I think it's 5 or 6 pretty long tracks, but there's plenty of variance within each of those tracks. And Arizmenda sounds so unique in a way that I can't really put my finger on. There's something about, I don't know if it's the production or just the vocals, but I don't think so. I think it's like the entire package creates something that is undeniably Arizmenda. And what's cool is from the second this record starts, it's got that quality about it right away. And honestly, like the first 2 minutes of this album are probably my favorite moment on the entire record. I love the way it starts with just a slower, like hypnotic riff, and then those super pained vocals are like introduced before it kind of turns into like that wall of noise. And so much of this record feels like this descent into chaos, hell, or madness or something. And I love it. It's so cool. I love the vocals. The vocals are very unique. They're kind of like, I don't want to say they're really harsh vocals necessarily, at least not all the time. Sometimes it just kind of sounds like this like tortured sort of like moaning, but it can definitely get into like shrieky or like more sharp, harsh territory. This album is also like heavy on the bass, which I think is cool. I don't know, there's definitely enough going on here that it's going to keep your attention from front to back, even though it's like an hour long. Anyway, I'll show you what this looks like. Really fucking cool album cover. Maybe my favorite Arizmenda album cover. But very, very glossy, as you can see. The back cover is fucking awesome. The back cover is probably my favorite over the front cover. Very, very cool. Gatefold, all super glossy. But I like this. It says, and it was if we saw ourselves for the first time and at the same time recognized ourselves as no longer human. This also includes a like lyric book here, which is very cool. By the way, if you guys have noticed my hand, I got spray paint on me last night, and I haven't been able, this motherfucking shit will not come off. Anyway, all of the pages look like this. This is the only place on the record that you actually get like the song titles and everything, because they're not on the actual jacket or anything, and I'm pretty sure they're not on the like labels or anything. But yeah, it's very, very nice. So there were 3 versions you could have gone with here. There was a kind of like red, black, marbly color. There was plain black. And then there was this version here, which is the one that I went with, which they called Minstrel Blood Glass or something like that. Very cool. I don't know what the limitations are on any of these. I don't think it was specified anywhere. I went with this one because I have a lot of records that look like the other colored version of this record. And finally, this does come with a poster, which I really don't need to show you because it just looks like the album cover, but me and my endless benevolence, I can't help but to throw you a fucking bone. So that's what that looks like. I think it's 24 by 36. It's a huge poster. But yeah, man, absolutely fantastic. I don't know if there are any copies of this album still available on vinyl, even the black version. I know that this version here is sold out, but maybe you can still grab a black version somewhere. Really, really fantastic. I'm always keeping my fingers crossed for Arizmenda to either put out a new release or release an old album on vinyl. I was lucky enough to see these guys live in Los Angeles back in 2017, and I'm keeping everything else crossed for the chance to one day see this like project live again. Very, very cool. I love it. Arizmenda without circumference nor center. Moving on, I got some first press action for you. I hope I have not shown this before. I don't think that I have, but I don't know. Who knows? It's been a while. If I forgot, maybe you forgot too. This is Pestilence with Malleus Maleficarum. I'm not going to talk too much about the music here because Pestilence, it has a kind of legendary status, so you probably should know this album. If you don't though, I'll give you the highlights. So this is the debut full-length album from 1988, and Pestilence sort of entered the scene at the time where thrash metal was sort of branching off into like death metal territory, and you can hear that on this album. I love that. I mean, I don't, you know, I'm kind of picky about thrash metal anyways, but when thrash metal is sort of like edging the line into death metal, especially if it's like the mid-late 80s, something about that, it's a lot easier for me to latch on to it than just straightforward thrash metal. So like I said, this is the first press on RC Records. If you don't know, the title is a reference to like a book about witchcraft or something. It's a Hammer of the Witches. I know there's more to it than that, but I don't need to go into everything here, and honestly I don't know much of the history or anything. There's the back cover right there. All the song titles, lineup. This was back when Patrick Mameli was just the lead guitarist. He's the front man of Pestilence now, and besides, you know, being the front man of Pestilence, he also is busy picking fights on Facebook. Posting cringe and picking fights, which is kind of on brand for some of these old, like, death metal guys. But, I love the album cover. It's just a bunch of people being tortured. It doesn't really look like it's happening in hell or anything. It looks more like a medieval scene. But it's really cool anyway. This album is full of really good, kind of like technical riffs, which I appreciate. It's not like just full-blown look at me wankery or anything like that. They're good riffs. They're just also technical. There's a nice audible bass performance on this thing. Lots of good guitar solos. I like the raspy vocals that definitely capture the spirit of like that mid-late 80s thrash metal. And the lyrics on this record are great, and they're smart in the same way that like I think of like Darkness Descends by Dark Angel. The lyrics on that album kind of do the same thing for me that the lyrics here do. This does include the original inner sleeve with just shots of the band, some information, and all the lyrics. And the vinyl itself is just black, but if you're curious about the labels, they both look like that. But this is great shit, man. I mean, if you're into like mid-late 80s thrash metal, death metal type stuff, this basically does everything you want it to do. Really, really good. Pestilence, Malleus Maleficarum. Alrighty, moving on from there, we got a kind of weird one. But this is a newer record, like an actual newer album. This came out last year in 2024. This is The Gates with Of the River Styx. So this is the second album from The Gates. The first album being The Gates of Pandemonium. And that album came out in 2021, and I'd been waiting for a follow-up, because the only thing that we'd gotten after the debut full-length was the split with Barros, which was fantastic. That was probably my favorite material from The Gates up to that point. And this has been my favorite of the kind of like the bands that sort of spun off from like the Black Magic SS thing. This is not quite the same as that, but I think that kind of paved the way for something like this to sort of gain traction. Because like, while a lot of those kinds of bands do a sort of blend of like black metal and like psych rock, this is much more like synth pop than psych rock. And especially with this record, it leans pretty heavily into the synth pop stuff. Lots of like keys and beat driven like synths and stuff. I love it. A lot of the music here has a very 1980s vibe to it, and I'm into it. I like it. I love the vocals. I like how they alternate pretty constantly between there's like more distant, raspy, harsh screams and a very sort of dramatic sounding clean vocal. Overall, I mean, I could chalk this album is just an earworm infestation waiting to happen. It's fantastic. I think my favorite song on this one is probably Alone, which was the single that was put out before the full album. But there literally is not a song on this album that I don't really enjoy. I don't know for sure that I like this more than the debut, but it's definitely got its own thing going on, and they're both really good records. I definitely don't like the album cover for this one as much as I do the debut album, but whatever. There's the back cover there with all of the song titles. This was put out through Northern Silence Productions. The gatefold is very cool. Just more bright, colorful artwork. The Gates kind of did this with the debut album as well, where they sort of included like an extra panel of art that could serve as like an alternate album cover. And I like the shot of each of the band members there. It's very cool. I don't exactly remember how many different versions there was of this or how they broke down, but I opted for the red with black splatter, which was limited to 333 copies. But yeah, this is great. I love this kind of stuff, and I know it's not for everybody, so you might fucking hate this, and I apologize. But maybe not. Maybe you'll enjoy it. I certainly do. Give it a whirl. That's The Gates with Of the River Styx. Moving on. This is something that I'm thrilled to see finally get a vinyl press after a decade of waiting for one. This is Sapthuran, and I might fuck the pronunciation up here, but I'm pretty sure it's something like Haggus, blood dripping from a sword. So back in 2015, this album was released. It was just a CD at the time, and I think it came out through Foreign Sounds. And ever since, I've been hoping to see a vinyl press of this thing. But as the years went on, and it kind of seemed like this project had kind of just fallen off the map. Because this project, from the time that it started in like 2003, all the way to 2010, it was super active. Like a release every year or more. And then there was a longer break, and in 2015 we got this, and then it's just been radio silence ever since. So, you know, as the years were going on, it kind of seemed more and more like it was just never going to happen. But our great and fearless leader, Craig over there at Bestial Rape Records, finally made this one happen, and I couldn't be more stoked on it. This is such a good fucking record, and unfortunately for me, because it's only been on CD, it's not like I was listening to this thing all the time. It had been a while by the time the vinyl actually had come out. So I am thrilled to see it finally on vinyl. I'm glad that Bestial Rape is the label that made it happen. And the record itself is fantastic. From front to back, this thing is a monster. It's pretty much got everything that you want from like a black metal record. It's got kind of epic sounding moments. It's got slower sort of groovy moments. It's got fast moments. Loads of blast beats all over this thing. It's got calmer, almost more like ambient sounding shit on it. The vocals are super cool. I might be called crazy for this, but the vocals here kind of sound like what you get if you mixed like Dagon from Inquisition and Nurgle from Behemoth, but sort of more distant and kind of delivered in a more like incantation, like spellcasty way. Then again, I'm a fucking moron, so just listen to it. What kind of sucks is this is not on YouTube anymore. It is on Bandcamp though, so you can find it there. If you don't have a copy of this thing, but really you should just buy the fucking vinyl. Another cool thing here is on the CD, all of the songs, there are like 2 long songs on here. On the CD, they were split up into like 5 tracks a piece. But they were on the CD, they were all listed like Separation 1 through 5 or whatever, and then Steadfast Resilience 1 through 5 or whatever. On here, they're just 2 long songs, and they flow into each other a lot more smoothly than they did on the CD, which is very cool. So I'm into it. Anyway, there's the album cover there. It's just a sword sticking in the ground. The back cover there, just the 2 song titles, Bestial Rape, Foreign Sounds, and then some credits. I can also tell that that photo was absolutely taken in Kentucky. That's where this band is from, here in Kentucky. And that's the most Kentucky looking fucking river I've ever seen. This does include an inner sheet with another picture of absolutely Kentucky. And on the other side, it just kind of looks like a little write-up about the album itself. No lyrics or anything like that. The vinyl itself is just white. All copies of this record were pressed on white vinyl, and I believe there's 300 of them. But this thing's fantastic. A nice mixture of fast and slow moments. Great riffs on this thing. You can hear the bass, which is nice. Really good stuff. You should definitely listen to this one. Fucking badass. Sapthuran, Haggus, blood dripping from a sword. speed this up a little bit. The next one I've got is the other first press record that I'm going to talk about in this video. And I'm stoked to have this because I could always use some more first press records from Autopsy. This is Fiend for Blood. This is just an EP. It was released the year after Mental Funeral in 1992, which is the same year that Acts of the Unspeakable came out. And this is a pretty short EP. It's actually really short. I think it's like maybe like 12 minutes long or something like that. There are 6 tracks on here, and 2 of the tracks are less than a minute long. But I mean, this, in those 12 minutes or whatever it is the whole thing is as Autopsy as you've ever heard. The super loud bass on this thing is a highlight. The drum performance on this is great, and obviously Chris's vocals are as fucking rabid as ever. I mean, it's a lot of fun. And this thing being as short as it is, there's still plenty of variance here between fast and slow moments. It just kind of sounds like this EP was an attempt to like speed run a disgusting Autopsy album in, half the time. It's fantastic. I really like it. I love the album cover here. This kind of feels funny. It doesn't feel like a normal record jacket. I can't describe it. Kind of like it though. There's the back cover right there, put out through Peaceville. You got all your track listing. This originally had a fucking inner sheet, but I was not told that it was missing when I bought it. So that's a lot of fun. I love when that happens. If you're curious though, there's what your labels look like. Very cool. So yeah, not too much to say about this. It's a great Autopsy EP. Badass. Fiend for Blood. Alright, moving on. Second to last thing I've got to show here is a relatively newer band, but certainly a new project to me. I only got clued into these guys 6 months ago or something, and that's not even as long ago as like my last record video was, so not that long. But this is Haggus with Plausibility of Putridity. Haggus, formed back in 2014 in Oakland, California, and this band it's kind of one of those bands like Nunslaughter, for example, where there are fucking endless releases. This is the second album from 2018, a year following the first full-length album, but between the first release and this second album, there's about 30 releases. And in the time since this album, there's been about 30 more releases. Most of them being splits, but a fair number of EPs mixed in there as well. But this band is kind of like Autopsy, not in the sound at all, but in the way that it is just, it's almost like it exists to sound as nasty as possible. I mean, this release specifically, this is the one we're talking about, is super fucking heavy. Like, the guitars on here almost sound like they're vibrating. Don't know how to describe it beyond that. The vocals are like pitch shifted and like just gurgled, but there's certainly merit beyond just sounding gross. There are loads of really good groovy moments on this thing. The third track, Tampering with Cadavers, just play that. Play that and you'll hear exactly what I'm talking about. So the songs mostly are pretty short. There's a bunch of them on here and only a small handful crack 2 minutes. So in and out, lots of ideas on this thing, but it's just nasty from front to back. What I don't like is how they did the actual vinyl pressing, because it's one of those where the front and back cover are just 2 separate pieces of like hard paper. But the album cover is nasty, obviously. The back of this panel here is a shot of each of the guys in the band, but Hambone and Lil Jizz. There's the other side right there, front and then back of this as well. The vinyl itself, there was a yellow version of this, but I just got black. I just got whatever was available to me in that moment, and they were asking a little too much for that yellow vinyl. But yeah, man, I really enjoy this. I want to see this band live. I'd like to experience mincecore in person. But this shit is nasty. If you've never heard it, give it a whirl. That's Haggus with Plausibility of Putridity. Let's finish this off. This is the only thing I'm talking about today that's not a metal album. But I'm thrilled with this. This is Amigo the Devil with Murder at the Will Turn. This is a record store day release from most recent record store day. And I actually went out on record store day, which I don't do, to try and find one of these. The thing is, I went to like 3 different shops and I just couldn't find it. I did go out later in the day. I wasn't waiting in no line, you know, in the morning or anything like that. But I went to 3 shops and was not able to find it. So while I was in the 3rd shop, I just went to see if any had been put on Discogs. And I bought probably the first copy to be put up on Discogs. And there was basically no upcharge. It was like $5 difference from retail price to what I bought mine for. But I'm glad I did it right when I did, because they only got more expensive throughout the week as people were putting more and more of them up. But basically this is a live album that was recorded October 29th of 2023. And I mean, it perfectly encapsulates what it sounds like to be at an Amigo the Devil show. It's loads of fun. And what's so cool is all of these songs are just slightly different from what you're expecting, because they're being performed live, and the band, and especially Danny himself, likes to sort of change things up, and I love that, you know. So there might be like an extra line in a song, or a lyric is different somewhere, and it's always performed with like a little bit more exaggerated than the rest of it, and it's fun. But more than pretty much any other band that I listen to, there is such a nice balance between sad songs and then the more fun tracks. And I love it, because every song sounds different than every other song, and they're all just as good as each other. I mean, like, it'd be hard for me if somebody asked me what my favorite band is to not say Amigo the Devil. But I won't talk your ear off about this. I fucking love it. The only complaint I have is that there was not a performance of Cannibal Within on here, which there really should have been. I mean, this was recorded like 3 weeks after that song came out, and it's just not on here. Whatever. This is really nice. Double LP. Front cover is very cool. It just sort of matches the art from Yours Until the War Is Over. There's the back cover right there. All of the tracks, and they kind of like named the interlude. So Dahmer does an interlude, Different Anymore interlude, Buying Time interlude, Jenga interlude, Cocaine Bingo interlude. So you get to hear all of that on here. Very cool. There's the inside right there. Just some credits, band credits, extra personnel credits. The vinyl themselves, like I said, there is 2 records here, but they are just black. So, you know, not gonna pull them out or anything like that. Motherfucking fantastic. It pretty much doesn't get better than Amigo the Devil for me. And if you guys have been watching me at any point over the past 6 years or so, you'll know it's true. But I'm gonna try and find something for this to play as this. If I can't, I'll figure something else out to give you an idea of like a live Amigo the Devil performance. Check this out. Fantastic. Amigo the Devil, Murder at the Will Turn.
So I drink till the night comes another day, and the day's just another little thing in our way. No one ever chooses to be thought designed. But this life is a joke.
Alright, and that's it. That is 7 more records, I think. It's been a long time, and I feel good doing this again. I'm going to throw these on the laptop. I'm going to start editing right now because I've got nothing else to do for a couple hours. So this might go up in the next couple of days or so. And I've got more than a week off work still, so I don't know. Maybe I'll get around to making another one. But thank you so much for being patient with me over the last 7 months or whatever. But hopefully there's some interest in this shit still. I still have fun making them when I've got the motivation to do it. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and hopefully we'll be back soon. Later.